Hey, so I'm back to tell part 3 of our story. So first video I kind of shared as the flood started happening. Second video was more once the water had come in and a little bit of the aftermath. And so now I'm going to share what kind of happened after all of that went down, which is really, honestly, the hardest part of it. I think a lot of people I've talked to, family and stuff this week, as I've kind of been processing it being the 10 years. And the actual flood and losing stuff was really hard. I'm not going to downplay it, but it's something that you kind of get past, right? It's stuff. It's books and, sentimental things or whatever. But I think it's more the stuff that happened after that has affected our family a lot more. And really the things that I need to talk through a little bit more and also talk about in the next video what God did. So I think I left off, it was a couple days after, and the realization of what had happened kind of hit us. And so we realized very quickly, not only could people not get to us, we couldn't leave. And so we had to move back in with my in-laws, who I am incredibly gracious for. And if they watch this video, thank you. But after living with them already once and then moving back in with them after losing most of our stuff, when I say trauma on top of trauma, it really was. And it does make me tear up and makes me sad to think of, because there were things that happened during that window of time that have really affected all of us, especially some of my kids. I think being put in a place that you don't have any choice, and then you kind of lose a lot of your autonomy. We had one car, 4 little bitty kids. We're trying to homeschool, but our church had flooded, our homeschool group had flooded, all of our friends had flooded. So any way to go and, be alone, or, it's a 3-bedroom house. Let's just say that. So Blaine and I and our youngest daughter, she slept on the floor, and then the 3 boys slept in the other room. And that part was fine, but the day-to-day and not being able to have choices about the way that we ran our household really took a toll on me. I would say it was just a really dark time spiritually, because you feel so alone, but you also can't protect your kids from all the things that maybe happen that go on in that home, or the things that happen outside of the home, because you can't really leave. I'll just say that. And so it was really tough and very alienating and very lonely. And I just really struggled with I was very angry at God, because I could get over the stuff, but feeling like, okay, God, we had just, moved a year ago and sold all of our stuff, and we're coming to obey you. We're coming to serve you and do this church and do missions. And then you've thrust us back into this hard situation, kind of being separated. It was tough. And there was a lot of me wrestling with God, which he is 100% okay with. I had to learn that, kind of like Isaac wrestled with the Lord until he blessed him. I was like, I'm going to wrestle this. I'm going to figure out, it was like this window of understanding God and his character, but also a season of lament for our family. And so I can't say that it was bad. I can say that there were hard things that happened in that window that changed all of us. I would say that some of my kids have trauma from that time that we really haven't totally worked through. I think that's part of why I've been talking through it on here. But it was just the worst feeling, because we really didn't have anywhere to go. Blaine didn't have a job. We had nothing. I will say and I will say this more in the video of how God provided. There were really cool things, like because we had lived with the in-laws before and then bought this house and moved in, we still had a storage unit. And so all of our Christmas stuff and that sentimental stuff, and then all of my photos and photo books were still in storage, because we just had not gotten them yet. And so the storage unit did not flood. Water came up to the door, but it didn't flood. And so little things like that were so kind of the Lord to let those things be preserved. And so I'm grateful for those things. I'm grateful for the sweet little windows that our kids had together. But the pain that came with that is just still things that I'm kind of hashing out, just being honest. So we lived with the in-laws. I feel like my timeline is off, 4 or 5 months. And during that time, FEMA was giving trailers to anybody who had flooded. So we waited and we prayed and we just cried out to the Lord, like, God, we need a place that is ours. And so when I tell you that when that FEMA trailer pulled up on our old flooded property, it was truly some of the sweetest times that my family ever had. We lived in a 900 square foot trailer that had no dishwasher, and I didn't even care. They parked it in front of the flooded house. So we lived there for a good 5 months, I think. And my kids will tell you that that window of time was the sweet. The boys would run around on the 3 acres and play in the gutted house. It was completely gutted after the flood. And so that was so neat. That was just a really sweet time of healing. So that's kind of the timeline. Moved in with the in-laws, then moved into the FEMA trailer. And I'm going to stop here because there are truly more things that God did in and through this than the hard stuff. And so I'm going to make another video just pointing to all of his goodness, pointing to the amazing miracles and ways that he showed up in this, just to say, yeah, it sucked. And there were hard things, but there were so many more ways that the body of Christ surrounded us. Miracles of cars and jobs and buying of houses that I can't wait to tell you about.